Singing at the highest level, year after year, can eventually take its toll on the vocalist, especially if they take their talent for granted and don't take care of their voice. Singing, and in most cases, singing and dancing, can be physically strenuous. Just like an athlete isn't going to be at their highest level for decades straight, the same could be said for a vocalist. And vocal cords usually become damaged over time. A change in the speaking voice is usually the first sign of a problem. Vocal misuse or abuse is the most common cause of vocal cord disorders, such as vocal nodules, laryngitis, vocal polyps, and even vocal cord paralysis. Symptoms include a raspy or hoarse voice, a low breathy voice, and paralysis of the vocal cords may cause trouble swallowing or coughing. These are usually temporary, but if they last more than 2 weeks, it's advised to seek help. And sometimes, unfortunately, these can be chronic conditions that end careers. Many singers experience problems through no fault of their own, just by simply the fact that they use their voice so often. Problems can be caused by an excessive use of the voice, either when singing, coughing, or yelling, especially when performing songs that are vocally taxing, with high notes, riffs, belting, and falsetto. Over-singing may also occur while you're in the moment. But life happens, and many singers find that their lifestyle is what affects their voices, such as smoking and inhaling substances of some kind. And this is simply considered vocal abuse. Age can affect vocal health too, and determine how the condition is treated. Singers experiencing problems will have to consult a voice specialist or an ear, nose and throat doctor. Celine Dion often speaks about how she maintains her amazing vocals. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of sacrifice. No cold drinks, no dairy, only lukewarm water, neck scarves when travelling, staying away from air conditioning and using humidifiers, to name a few. And definitely not smoking and avoiding cigarette smoke whenever possible. In an interview with Larry King, she said, "Most of all, I still warm up doing my vocal exercises before every show or before recording songs in the studio." She said, "For 18 years I've been a very disciplined person, training my voice, only my voice. No dairy products, no eating different types of food, because when you sing, it's a different diet. And I'm a little tired of having to be so disciplined now."
How do you keep the voice going? Do you do exercise, or how do you work that? I mean,
I still have a coach.
Really?
I do have a coach. And
what does a coach do with you?
It's really boring.
Why do you need that?
It's a stretch.
Give me a vocal warm-up. What do you do?
Well, like that.
This is before in the dressing room?
I do this for a few different ones, obviously, but it's just to
Not all singers go to such lengths to maintain their voices. Some just want to enjoy life. So let's take a look at some singers whose voices declined for various reasons. Some partied too much, others just experienced wear and tear, literally. And some were just all out reckless. Adele has brought us many lamenting hits over the years. The North London native hasn't had an easy ride with her vocals though. Adele was diagnosed with a hemorrhage on the vocal cords, which she likened to having a black eye. Rumours started to circulate when word got out, some people even speculating that it was throat cancer. She had to undergo vocal cord surgery, which was performed by Dr. Stephen Zetterls in Boston, Massachusetts. The procedure was successful, and her official comeback was at the 54th Grammy Awards, where she sang Rolling in the Deep to rapturous applause. Due to her vocal injury, she was forced to give up smoking. Adele said her voice has never been the same again, and claimed that giving up smoking, rather than helping her vocals, actually hindered her vocal ability. It's hard to believe that she was a smoker in the first place, but she was forced to give up to prevent further damage. Every time I see a singer smoke, I do cringe. Unless they're a rock singer for some reason. But even they, of course, have to look after their voices. Adele told 60 Minutes, "It felt like something popped in my throat." 5 years after the surgery and giving up smoking, Adele said, "The people with the best voices, they always smoke. I've given up smoking, and I'm convinced that's made my voice weaker." But on the bright side, her fingers are no longer orange. Around 2016, after the release of her iconic 25 album, Adele's appearance drastically changed. As well as giving up smoking, she really began to get into exercise. She told Vogue magazine that she began working out so that she had more energy for her performances and also to help with her anxiety. "I was trying to get some stamina for my tour, so I lost a bit of weight. Now I fit into normal, off-the-shelf clothes, which is a really big problem for me." Her trainer, Greg Melee, said weight loss wasn't actually a priority for her. She just wanted to feel better and have more energy. "I'm all for it, but at one point, she was working out 3 times a day." This ain't the Biggest Loser, where for some reason, health experts believe that working out for 6 hours a day is sustainable. I wonder why they put on weight when they stop. But Adele said that she was actually unemployed at the time, quote unquote. She did weights in the morning, hikes and boxing in the afternoon, and cardio at night. Don't try this at home. And she admitted that it isn't doable for most people. She shut down rumors that she was following some weird diet. She said, "I haven't done any diet, no intermittent fasting, nothing. If anything, I eat more than I used to because I work out so hard." She said she received some backlash. Some people were mad at her for simply losing weight. Others were mad at her for not sharing her journey and saying how she did it. "It's not my job to validate how people feel about their bodies. I feel bad if anyone feels horrible about themselves, but that's not my job. I'm trying to sort my own life out. I can't have another worry." Then she said she considers herself an athlete. Apparently she's a very good boxer.
"I never looked up to anyone because of their body.
Aretha had a rich soprano voice. She was trained in church and was also a self-taught pianist. Aretha was in the industry since the age of 12, releasing gospel songs and performing at different churches. The first gospel album she released was at 14, called Songs of Faith. At 16, she toured with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and poignantly sang at his funeral. She met Marvin Gaye through her sister, who dated him. And she was also influenced by Ray Charles, Sam Cooke, and many others. After starting out in the gospel music industry and playing piano in the choir, she told her father that she wanted to branch out into pop music. Her first secular album was released in 1961 through Columbia Records. She was in her late teens at the time and managed by her father. Many may be surprised to hear that a seasoned vocalist such as Aretha smoked cigarettes. In an interview with Time magazine, Aretha said, "I stopped smoking in 1991. It helped my voice tremendously. The clarity and everything. The range increased. When she stopped smoking, she did begin to gain weight, but the improvement to her voice encouraged her to keep going. We know people's voices may change as they age, not just their singing voices, their speaking voice too. 4 decades into her career, many noted that her voice actually improved rather than decline, like many singers seem to experience. Aretha put this down to giving up smoking. In an interview with Time magazine, she said, "I stopped smoking in 1991. It really helped my voice tremendously. The clarity and everything. The range increased. When she stopped smoking, she did begin to put on weight, but the improvement to her voice encouraged her to keep going." Dr. H. Stephen Sims, director of the Chicago Institute for Voice Care, said voices naturally settle over time and vocal cords weaken. But he said that this doesn't mean that someone in their 80s, for example, can't have a strong singing voice. I've certainly seen 80-year-olds who have very strong voices, but 70s into 80s is where you see atrophy or shriveling of the vocal cords. He said Aretha's voice did grow thinner and raspier. He said, quote, "Though that's not just the aging process. In Aretha's case, there's smoking and weight and other factors involved. He said opera singers may continue singing into their 70s, more so doing recitals rather than the heavy-duty operas, and rock singers have their own standards to be judged on, and what singers may lose in range, they may gain in other areas, such as a deeper, more raspier tone that suits certain songs, and the ability to hit lower registers with more ease. Some singers who have had surgery for nodules have reported this. News about Amy Winehouse's death shocked the world. Many assumed she had succumbed to drug addiction. It was no secret that she had a long battle with drugs, and her struggles were played out in her music, which was why her sound was so authentic, something that is missing from many of today's songs. But many were surprised to hear that she had actually died from alcohol poisoning. She had abstained from alcohol for a significant period of time, but one night, she embarked upon a binge drinking session. She was found deceased in her house in Camden on the afternoon of Saturday, the 23rd of July, 2011. They said she had enough alcohol in her system to put one in a comatose state and to depress the respiratory system. She was found on her bed fully clothed, with a laptop and empty vodka bottles on the floor. The coroner said she voluntarily consumed alcohol, a deliberate act that took an unexpected turn in that it caused her death. The signs of her drug addiction and binge drinking were evident in the decline of her voice. Long before her untimely death, she regularly used heroin, crack cocaine, and cannabis. She had stopped taking drugs before a soul-searching trip to St. Lucia, but she replaced one addiction with another. She fell into a pattern of not drinking for a few weeks, then relapsing. She took Librium, a medication to cope with withdrawals from alcohol. She had even been reviewed by mental health experts, but apparently she refused treatment because she thought doing so would affect her creativity. As well as a singer, she was a songwriter and musician. The night before she died, she had been seen by her doctor, Christina Rometti, who asked her if she was going to stop drinking. She said she didn't know. Rometti was not concerned about her taking her life. She said she wanted to live. Quote, she specifically said she did not want to die. And Amy's bodyguard said that on Friday night, he could hear her laughing, listening to music and watching TV in her room. They watched YouTube videos of her performances. He last spoke to her at 2 a.m. Saturday morning. He checked in on her at 10 a.m. She wasn't moving, but he assumed she was sleeping. At 2:30 to 3 p.m., still quiet, he checked on her again. She was in the same position. He checked her pulse, and he couldn't find one, so he called paramedics immediately. Soon after they arrived, she was confirmed dead. He told the inquest he was shaken and shocked. She was like a sister to him. 350 milligrams of alcohol was found in her blood, an amount associated with fatalities. As well as issues with drugs and alcohol, Amy developed health issues that affected her voice. Although a majority of her vocal problems stem mainly from her addiction to drugs, just before her death, she had been diagnosed with emphysema. This is believed to be why she scaled back her live performances and had trouble hitting the notes she used to sing so effortlessly. Emphysema is a condition where the air sacs of the lungs are damaged and enlarged. This causes breathlessness. Amy was diagnosed in 2008 after she fainted at home. Her father Mitch confirmed that she was in the early developments of a deadly and incurable lung disease and an irregular heartbeat due to smoking crack cocaine and cigarettes. He told the Mirror, "Doctors have told her if she goes back to smoking drugs, it won't just ruin her voice, it will kill her. She's got emphysema. It's in the early stages." But had it gone on for another month, they painted a very vivid picture of her sitting there like an old person, with a mask on her face, struggling to breathe. Common with long-term smokers or people exposed to toxic chemicals. It is considered irreversible and degenerative. It damages the air sacs and the airways. Typically, it's hard for sufferers to exhale or catch their breath. Mitch said, "We're smoking the crack cocaine and the cigarettes. Her lungs are all gunked up. There were nodules around the chest and dark marks. He begged her dealers to stay away from her for the sake of her life." Amy was described as a jazz singer with modern yet powerfully nostalgic jazz vocals. Radio presenter and professional soprano Catherine Bott said, "The week before Amy Winehouse died, I heard Tony Bennett on the radio saying what a joy it had been to record with her and acclaiming her as one of the finest jazz singers he had ever heard. He said he looked forward to future collaborations, but it wasn't to be." Whitney Houston's vocal coach, Gary Katona, said the damage to her voice deeply affected her. Shortly before her death, she was deeply, physiologically and emotionally affected by the decline in her voice. He said her personality changed as a result. Gary, one of the world's leading vocal coaches, met Whitney in 2005. He said at this point, she could barely speak. Usually, damage is first detected in a person's speaking voice, before even being concerned about their singing. He told the Sunday Times she was horrified by it. When someone is a singer at that level, their voice is so much of who the person is. She identified with her voice. He said he managed to get her voice back to 75%, but she never fully recovered before she would then take off and damage it again, meaning going back to her old ways with drugs and smoking. He said, as her voice started returning, lo and behold, her personality began changing, just as predicted. She became more confident. She became who she really was, funny, charming, an intelligent person. Her self-esteem began rising. But what would happen was that I would work with her, and she'll get her voice back to some extent, then she'll take off. She'll try to sing here or she'll try to sing there, rather than getting her voice back completely, which would have secured her legacy. She'll get caught up in her lifestyle again and began practicing the habits which were not beneficial to her voice. In 2010, Whitney delayed 3 dates from her European tour after being hospitalized in France. She was diagnosed with an upper respiratory infection. Sky News reported she was suffering from chronic rhinopharyngitis, a swelling of the mucous membranes in the nose and pharynx, and an infection. And the cause was not revealed, although I'm sure there was some speculation due to her history of drug use. There were also rumours that she too had emphysema and was ordered to stop smoking. Clive Davis stated in Rolling Stones that long before the drugs, it was the cigarettes that ruined her voice. Whitney vowed to stop smoking in order to get her voice back. A week after declaring this, sadly, she died. At just 48, she was found face down in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton, with remnants of cocaine nearby. The cause of death was cited to be accidental drowning, with drug abuse and heart disease. With rest, it is possible for one to restore their voice, but giving up the cigarettes is a must. In a recent interview, Mariah declared that her voice is back. It's no secret that through the decades, Mariah has faced struggles with her vocals, simply from overworking and singing at the most highest level. She admitted that her voice had been damaged over the years and became hoarse. She said the pandemic forced her to rest. No live performances, lockdown, no studios, not even any gyms. It was terrible, it must never happen again. She revealed that she had nodules on her vocal cords for as long as she can remember. These were usually caused by overusing the voice. In 2017, she said, "It's all about timing, vocal rest and sleep. It's a different kind of thing. My cords actually have nodules on them, and I have my whole life. That's why my speaking voice is actually more low, but the top range stuff is a whole different thing. Because I have nodules, I've learned to sing around them and with them, and it's sort of like I use a part of the cords when I'm using the higher register. So she's saying that her nodules actually helped her to reach the whistle register. She said her vocal cords are studied by other singers, as her coach has made them a case study during lectures. It's such a unique tone, but her voice has suffered over the years due to strain. Only rest and recovery can fix this, which she was able to do in 2020. Travelling and getting hoarse and doing this and doing that did damage to my voice for a minute, but having that moment to kind of get it back to a place where I felt really good about it was its own gift. I mean, none of us were thrilled to be dealing with COVID, but that did give me a chance to get back into the studio and just strictly focus on music. Oh yeah, obviously she has her own studio. She doesn't have to go to a studio outside of her house. And Mariah has several projects in the works, such as the 25th anniversary of the Butterfly album. She has children's books and a themed album coming out. Let me know in the comments other singers who may fall into this category for part 2. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below, you know I read the comments. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.